going. You know, there's always a little bit of a lag, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be live in a couple of seconds, I think. And I think we're live. This is super exciting. Let me just change the view a little bit and make sure I can see everyone. I should have probably done this before, but hey, such is life. We are good. Let's see that I can see us on the page, and we'll wait for everyone to come in. And we're good. How exciting.
Yes.
How exciting. There you are. There I am. I'll just turn the video. So this is my usual process. I see us on the phone so I can see the questions.
Yeah.
So that I can see who's here. Jen is here. Hello, Miss Jenna. Oh, well. So exciting. Friday is my new favorite day. Used to be Wednesday. Now it's Friday. Because on Friday, I get to connect with our community. And without the people in our community wouldn't be here doing this amazing work. And so it's my absolute pleasure to bring into the space the amazing people that I've had an opportunity to connect with in a deeper way. And so one of these people, if you haven't met, you've probably seen Deborah in the group, but if you haven't met Deborah already, she is an incredible soul. And I met her through another one of our Master Heart connections from the beautiful work that I've gotten to do with Nicole Gibson and her group. I met Deborah through that process. And what I love about Deborah is that she's got this incredible journey, but this incredible heart to inspire not just leaders, but future leaders to create thriving teams. And so Deborah has this long, beautiful career in leadership and connection and inspiring our younger generation. Now she's bringing that forward to help teams with cultural change. And so what I love about Deborah is all this skill and all this knowledge and all this insight and the awareness of what's happening in our world and bringing that forward for other people is so done amazing. So it's like drum roll, sparkly fingers. Everyone, welcome to the house, the beautiful Deborah Williamson, who is here with the Dare2B. I'm going to call it a movement because that's what it is.
I like that. Thank you very much, Martine. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be able to speak to you today. It's just amazing that I've connected with you in the first place. And yes, going back to that Master Heart thing that we did back in April last year, I feel like I've gone on a journey with you, and you've been sort of my main lead man, guiding me, pushing me, or encouraging me and helping me. So I am grateful to be part of everything that you are creating.
It's a co-creation, right? Because
yes, it is actually.
It is. Yeah. I am only here to be of service to everyone who's in the group. Wendy says good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Wendy.
Yeah. So, and this work that we do, it evolves together. Like as you show up, you empower me to show up, and then that co-creates the work, and it allows us to take the journey. And so I always joke that all I'm doing is just following the breadcrumbs. You just follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
So for those of you who have not been or seen our Shine a Light Friday session, I don't prep anyone. So that's probably making Deborah,
those of us.
making Deborah incredibly nervous because she's like, I don't know what to say. And so
no, it's okay.
all we're here to do is really just to share whatever comes up in the moment and to be able to, I suppose, let everyone know that this is a space that we evolve and grow in. And you know, where we were before versus where we are now is so exciting. So for Deborah, I would love to know, because, you know, this is a new space. So I'd love for everyone to know, because I don't think everyone knows your background. So I'd love to know for you to share a little bit about your background and your story about, you know, obviously the work that you're doing, you know, in schools and education, and what that has brought you into this field that you're working in now. I'd love for you to share that, please.
Thank you, Martine. Yes, I've been in education for a long time, and always as an educator, as a teacher, and as a leader within that field, it's always been my priority to bring out the best in people. And, you know, even as a young teacher, it was all about student-centered learning and bringing out individuals in the classroom and making everybody feel better for having been in my space. So I think as a leader then, and you take that through, and as head of department, I had a vision and a beautiful team that I worked with. It was a very heart-centered, connected group of people. And it's always been about valuing what people bring to the table and developing depth of leadership. As a then deputy principal and principal, it's been about developing that depth of leadership through the student body. Everybody in an organization is a leader at some time. And for me, leadership isn't about a job, it's about a mindset, and it's about having that serving attitude that takes you in an approach to how you bring out the best in people. It's about seeking to understand each individual in the organisation and finding their strengths and giving them the opportunity to shine their light within that organisation. And that's given me incredible joy over a long period of time. And I'm on a mission to bring that into businesses, because a school really is a business. It has customers, and the customers are the student and the parent, and it's a learning environment, and so is a business. Mm-hmm. Every single day we are learning, and it's about being curious and tapping into our heart center to find what lights us up on any given day. And that leader's role is to inspire that and to empower the people within the organization to own their thing, their part, to be the leader of, their own decisions and to have initiative. It's I've had many conversations with developing leaders over the years about having confidence to have enough initiative to make a decision and go with it. It might be wrong, but that's okay. That's where you learn. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that gives you a bit of background about how my education career has influenced me and what I value.
I love that. I love the space where you said that leadership is mindset, and that piece around it being a serving attitude. And because, I've got issues with the word leader.
I do.
I'm like, oh my God, there's the word again and again.
I understand that because, when leadership is about managing and getting results and having power, and that's not leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think there's that space. And I remember I've had a lot of mentors and a lot of managers, as well, like within my corporate world. And I remember I was talking about inspire versus motivate, right? And so, we would talk about, and he would say to me, Martine, like, how are you inspiring your team? And I'd be like, I'm doing the things. He's like, well, how are you motivating them? And it was this fine line. If you were to talk about, inspiring change versus motivating change within, say, even the construct of a small business, because there's a lot of people in our group who, might have a small business where they only have a small team. How would you help them get past this piece?
Yes, it's a really interesting point you're raising there, because for me, motivation has to be intrinsic for it to work. And so inspiring intrinsic motivation is giving people their role in the organization or their ownership over their thing, and valuing that person for going the extra mile and recognizing the fact that they're willing to give it a go and learn from it. Intrinsic motivation is about autonomy and that ownership. And so I think as a leader, that's what you've got to instill in your people. And they are all learners in whatever part they're at, wherever they're coming from. You need to treat them in that respectful way, to understand that they're going to make mistakes and inspire them to give it a go regardless. Yeah. Does that make sense? I think I've said it.
Yeah, there's that intrinsic motivation versus and it's a funny thing, because if I go back to my fitness first days, right? So, and I love that you said that the school is a business, because, when I was managing gyms, people are like, oh, fitness is a business. I'm like, actually, like, this is a business. Like, yes, we're helping people to feel better about themselves, but make no mistakes that, the fitness industry is definitely a commercial industry. It's a business, and selling memberships is a business, and all of those things. And so one of the things about our business, even banks, there are some very strong KPIs. And so, one of the things I've always taught people is, like, if you're going to buy a car, buy it at the end of the month. If you're going to buy insurance, buy it at the end of the month. If you're going to get a loan, get it at the end of the month. If you're going to join a gym, do it at the end of the month, because people are motivated to achieve a certain target, and usually those targets are monthly, and at the end of the month, you will always get the best deal. Right?
Good point.
Hack.
Yep.
Buy stuff at the end of the month. You'll get a better deal every single time. And so in that space, we talk about schools being a business, and we talk about, banks being a business, and all of these people have targets and KPIs. And I was taught, or whether that just came from this intrinsic piece about micromanaging. So that we would have daily KPIs, like you would have in a school, right? We would have, every day I'd be like, how many leads did you get? How many businesses did you visit? How many phone calls did you make? How many people did you speak to? How many sales did you make? It was like me on robot repeat for like 7 years. How many leads did you get? How many calls did you make? How many appointments did you have? And so these were our KPIs. And my role within that management role, certainly wasn't a leadership role, but my role in that management role was to manage to KPIs. Now, you take a small business, like I have a small business, and a bunch of people in the group have a small business, and it's hard not to come back to the KPIs when you are trying to grow, right? You're trying to hit targets, you're trying to do all these things. And so there's this space of, we need to hit the number, and I don't feel like that anymore, but that still comes up for me because that's the training that I've had. And so as a small business, I'd love to know, because we don't have the spend, right? We don't have the budget. We don't have the big buffer behind us as a small business. What insights would you have for those? Like, I know Wendy's on the call and she's just got her first VA, and I know Michelle's got her first VA. And how would we inspire small teams to be able to own their space without it being that driver that comes from, meeting targets and doing tasks?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is sharing your vision and being really clear about your vision, because getting people to buy into that vision, because behind every result and behind every KPI is a person making that happen. And so I would say to anyone bringing anybody into their team, it's about empowering those people to understand how they contribute with significance to that vision, and to instill purpose into them so that they feel motivated to get what you need done. And I don't know if hounding people about the result side of it will get the best thing out of those people. In fact, it's probably going to be the first way to lose those people, because for many people, it's not about the number, it's about the outcome that it brings. And so if those same people were thinking about, the conversation they can have with people, what they're giving to the person that they're selling to, and, what it's going to bring to their life, then yes, that's where, again, the intrinsic motivation comes with selling or leading or managing, and getting the best results through people and relating to the people that you're working with.
Yeah, I love it. It's easy to get swept up when you're in corporate. It's easy to get swept up into that space, right? And I think this is where the work that you're doing is so powerful and so beautiful, because coming from that perspective, where we have corporates and we have businesses who are very numbers driven, like I've just shared, that was my world, 7 years, numbers. Like, I made my teams come in on the weekend where we were closed to hit a number. I was learned as a person who could get anything done. We were like selling gym memberships when the gym was closed. Like, I was like a beast, right? And so in that space, it's a very different space now to have a small team and to be able to lead. And so for those of us who have small teams and who are leading now from this space, what you're doing is bringing this very beautiful methodology of inspiring change and helping people to be able to create that pathway that is less about the numbers driven pathway that we've been taught in big corporate, and channeling that into a methodology that will allow them to grow a team from a place of real empowerment. And that's Absolutely. What you do.
Yes.
So let's say there's probably going to be people here, because I know that Ray will watch, and I know there's a bunch of people who will watch who have a small team and perhaps don't necessarily have the methodology to be able to, I don't know, and this is not picking on anyone in particular, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but what would you say would be the first steps? It's like, okay, we're in 2021, 2020, like, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I just did all my ho'oponopono on it, right? Thank you for all the lessons, and now we're moving to 2021 with this fresh perspective. And so for those who have a small team and who want to be able to 2x, 10x, 200x, whatever the number is, what would you say would be some simple first steps that would help them on the pathway?
Well, I would say that it would be about reflecting on your current reality and, and consulting the people within that group and having one-on-one conversations on what people are feeling is working, not working, and doing some appreciative inquiry, surveys, with customers and people that you're dealing with to gain understanding of what to keep and what to change or what needs to change. And as an organization grows from 2 to 10 people, you're still able to sit around a table and have a meeting and everybody's getting the same information at the same time. What starts to happen as the business scales and everything grows exponentially is suddenly none of that works. And the people within that small organization who saw their thing as doing everything, and they were valued for their significance because they were it. It's a vast difference than when new people come in, or there's the need for the leader to start to create more leaders within the organization. So if from the start you're growing each person as a leader within the company and an understanding of the vision, and you have shared values, the culture that you're growing right from the beginning is that of people-centered values. And then as you grow, you want those people to be the guardian of your culture. And you just got to be, I think, really, really mindful that what you model as a leader is what you'll get your people duplicating. And and when it's sort of out of control and you're not the person in the first line of contact with everybody, you want those people who are the first line of contact to be modeling what you want modeled. So it is about clarity of message, having a clear vision, being really strong on values and what's not negotiable in terms of behaviors, and modeling heart-centered leadership and expecting that of everybody.
Making notes, obviously.
Valuing each other for your strengths. And one of the tools that I love to use is the eDisc behavior profiling. It's a unique system. There's many behavior profiling tools out there, but I love eDisc because it is so detailed around it's people answering their own questions about themselves, and because of the algorithms within it, it brings out quite a depth of information around strengths, their communication style, their stress triggers, what motivates them, and the skills that they have and the competencies within that organization. So as organizations grow, I think there's a great the best thing that they could do would be to be in touch with who their people are, what they're thinking, what motivates them, and to then work with that. And when you bring new people in, make sure the interview involves those, understanding their values and their behaviours, I think, above all, and how they solve problems, whether, and as a leader, to ask a leader how they solve problems. Do they push it under the mat? Do they consult? Do they, have conversations? Or is it like panic? Oh my God, I didn't know this was happening. And suddenly I'm putting out fires and reacting. Mm-hmm. They're all the things that a growing business starts to deal with. And that's where I come in.
I love it. There's so many, and Rachel just said the guardian of a culture. That's what I wrote, guardians of the culture. So many key nuggets that I got from that just then. The clarity of the message, heart-centered leadership, and that growing each person as a leader with people-centric values. Oh my goodness, that's so damn beautiful. You were talking about eDisc. Is that profiling tool that you use in your work?
Yes. So it's an online tool, and it gives me a 42-page report or thereabouts, which is what's beautiful about it is it shows a person's natural style and their perceived style. So, and it's not pigeonholing people into 4 boxes or, labeling people because, they're combinations of things, but it's not about the particular style of person, but all of the underlying behaviors and attitudes and approaches that sit underneath their behaviors. Does that make sense? I repeat, the wrong way of saying that. But because you can see how far a person is away from their natural style, you know from that whether they're sitting in a flow type state and whether they are feeling valued for their strengths and all of those sorts of understandings. What's awesome about it is that I can do team profiling. So a whole team can be profiled, and then I'll get a report that shows the interaction of the members of the team. So that brings in conflict resolution and difficult conversations, all sorts of things like that, that can really improve and enhance how a growing business can operate.
I love that. And so there's so many things I want to come back to, but I have to take the thing that's top of mind because otherwise I'll forget. When you talk about, and I see this as being super valuable. So the people that you're working with, or the people that you ideally would be working with this year, would be people who have teams and understanding that cultural dynamic and how to then enhance the best qualities in each person to work in synergy. Would that be right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Okay. And so, if I take, for example, one of the challenges that I have in having I have an epic team, as you well know, but one of the challenges you have, and I've talked about this with other people who are in this space before, is that when you have a team of people who are contractors and freelancers, so I only have a couple of people who are more permanent, right? But then I have a large team of contractors. And so when you're working with contractors, there are some challenges because they're having their own business. And so you are one of a million pieces. And so I have often wondered the best ways to be able to work with a team of contractors. I'd love to get your insight on this because, you're working with business owners. So for say Kat or anyone else who's on the call who's starting by, bringing contractors, is that the same methodology for working with contractors as it would be with working with employees?
I think similar. I think the biggest thing around this brings to mind delegation. When you delegate, one of the lessons I've learned over my many years is to delegate the purpose of the task, the how, and to talk about how it is, not necessarily to micromanage, but to be very clear that how it gets done can be their way, but the outcome is very well defined. So the outcome is defined within the realm of when it needs to happen, what it needs to look like, feel like, sound like. And if the communication around the expectations is clear, that goes within an organisation or to anybody that you're contracting, because that, I suppose, stops you having to redo what comes back, or find that it wasn't what you asked for or what you thought you asked for. So the communication aspect of that has to be really well processed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quite often, in my business in particular, we have a waterfall effect, right? So one person has a task, which will then allow the next person to have a task and have a next person have a task. Now, if person A has not completed their task on time, it has a waterfall effect on everything else, right? And all you need is person A to have not completed their task properly for everything to then be pushed back. And that can be like super challenging for the rest of the team. And it can be something as simple as that person was sick. Do you know? And if that person is sick and task A doesn't get done, then that waterfall effect happens. So I think that's something to be mindful around, giving yourself ample time, because I'm really not good at time.
Right. Very good. No, that's right. I always have a deadline ahead of the deadline. And
good tip.
I've always said that to students as well over the years, pretend the deadline's a week ahead of what you really think it is. Yeah.
We have that with friends, right? When we're like, we know that they're terrible timekeepers. So you always tell them like the time half an hour before the time really is, because you know that then they'll be on time.
Actually, one of the skills I've learned through learning my coaching tools is timeline therapy. And there's a strategy for that. In fact, I have used it and had total transformation through changing my timeline.
So good.
It is magic. Yes. I was one of these people who, somebody once said to me, I was time optimistic. I always thought I had more time than I did. Now, since I've changed my timeline, I've always got more time than I think I've got. And it always feels like I come up to a moment when something's going to be happening, and it's all happening.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty magical.
Well, I'm sure there's people in the group who need some help with that, right? Just even that timeline therapy about getting things done. I always joke that I'm never early, I'm never late, I'm right on time. There's no buffer for right on time, right? Right on time is right on time. I love that. That was the first thing that came to mind within that space. There was something else, but I've forgotten it. It'll come back to me.
No problem.
So I'd love to I've got a couple of quick questions for you, because I think these are great ways for us to get to know you. And you know this question because I ask it of myself all the time. So who is Deborah when she's at her best?
Relating and really gaining understanding, talking to people in a rich conversation like this one. It's I feel to me, being at my best is helping the other person I'm talking to feel better about themselves for having had that conversation. And that's me at my best, bringing out the best in people.
I love it. And so in this same sort of frame, what inspires you?
Same thing. The opportunity to work with people and bring out their heart, their soul, their belief, their passion, to find their potential and really fly with who they are and feel great about it. Transforming that is magic. Yeah.
I love that. I think if we took that one step deeper, because I love that you're inspired by the opportunity to connect, and I love that you're inspired by the work that comes up. But then who do you go to for inspiration?
Good question. A range. Well, I have a coach, and I go to colleagues, people who are sharing my journey. I go to research. I'm such a curious learner. I'm inspired by some wonderful people online. There's a few like Marissa Peer, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Brene Brown.
There are people.
There's the other one, the 5-second rule. Her name's not coming.
Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, yeah. Tony Robbins. Who do I go to for inspiration? The beautiful Dee.
Dee Hutchinson?
In our group, Dee Hutchinson. Yes. And you, Martine. You.
You crazy lady.
Yes. No, I do. Yeah.
Thank you.
At times it's not the, with that inspiration comes a challenge. And, the challenge I've had with technology, learning new things, technology. It's always been something I've loved. But because it matters so much, I get so heart-centered about it. Stuff comes up and it's like, why can't I do this? I've always been good at this.
Yeah. And look, I have the same issues with some of those things too. And I always like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I come off a call, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And it's just stuff. If we can take away the importance, like we're trying to show up online and we're trying to do these things and we're trying to say the right things and we're trying to post and trying to schedule and trying to work out what a freaking reel is and how the beep do I make my video work. And we give this stuff so much importance, but at the end of the day, it's just stuff. And so we give that stuff that's not important too much importance. And so it's a reminder for all of us is just to be who we are in that moment and don't let the stuff get to us. I let it get to me too. So I say that from my own space, not from yours, right?
What's been really good this week, and it was a full moon coming on. I didn't actually know that, but which always brings out my emoting.
Are you a water sign?
I'm a Libran, so I don't know. They've just changed it all now, but yeah. But somehow the moon, I'm affected by the moon and always have been. Particularly new moons. Anyway, that's a digression, a Martine digression. Where was I actually going with that? Oh no, what I think is powerful is coming through and proving yet again that I have resilience. And when I try, I succeed. And when I let go of the pain and see the pleasure, as Marissa Peer would say, when I attach pleasure to what I'm doing and open my heart up, go and do some meditating, they're all things that I do to find myself again. And it always feels different to come back to it. It's like, it's much easier than it was a minute ago. And
that's always who we're being, right, in that moment. And so I've been very blessed to be in a room with Marissa Peer and experience her live. I've been very blessed because some of the community that I have a connection with. In fact, there's a new Master Heart coming up, which I'll be speaking at.
Yes.
So that's
good. Yes, awesome.
I love the Master Hearts, right? I get to meet amazing people. In fact, you, Rachel, who's on the call, are all Master Hearters.
Yes.
Michelle's a Master Hearter. My people. And so I'm blessed to be able to connect with these inspirational people. Brene Brown walked the Camino with me. I listened to all of her podcasts and did all that stuff. Like all of these people are the people that we go to allow us to know that wherever we're at is actually okay. Yeah. I had a question, and Rachel, actually, I'm going to come back from this beautiful aspirational element. And maybe it's relevant, but it's important because what I've experienced in outsourcing staff or outsourcing team is this real willingness to please. And so particularly offshore staff, and I've had a beautiful experience with a number of offshore people, VAs and companies. And what I've noticed is that, and this cultural element comes to play. We have this culture, but in other cultures it's different, where there's this space of wanting to please and not wanting to be seen as not willing or not competent. And so you might have, let's say, a VA, and you'll say, does that make sense to you? You've gone through the process, and how do you feel? And it happens a bit, and they'll say, I feel excited, or I'm excited, or I'm happy, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. And then you might wait some time, and they may not actually have the same understanding as what you thought, because I think they struggle to communicate where the lack is, because they don't want to be perceived as being that not enoughness. And so there's this space of having clear communication that will allow us to connect with people globally, because that's what we're doing now in these platforms, is we're building global teams. And I suppose there's a space, that feedback loop, like how do we create the space to be able to let people contribute to a space that will always allow them to grow. So there's that feedback loop that then has the space of empowering them to be able to take the next step. And so in this area, for those of us who are time challenged, we need to create or allow for more time for the feedback loop and for all of these other spaces to come to fruition.
So true.
It's
true.
A challenge, right? And so we think, well, I can get this done in like 10 minutes, but that's you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it becomes a challenge when we're outsourcing staff. And so I know I've talked about outsourcing staff recently, and maybe this is something that you can help people with, because this is your space, but it'd be super good for people if they're just like, Wendy's just hired a VA, I know Michelle has. For people who are onboarding, say, new team and new offshore team, is there a process that you could maybe help people with or take them through that will allow them to say, okay, here's your 6-week onboarding process, and week 1 is about the, understanding the roles, and week 2 could be about this. Is there something that you have or that you know of that would help people develop that kind of relationship with outsourcing team?
There's no. I do know of an organisation that has really done a lot to train the outsource VAs, and done a brilliant job of it. And I think that it is a whole business in itself. And I am looking down this road myself in the very near future to start to outsource. I think being really clear on the skills you're looking for in how you recruit will be the first instance, and to maybe show or get them to show you their work ahead of starting. So to say, well, these are the things that I would like you to be able to do. Show me examples of how you would do this, and have a bit of a trial and like a bit of a trial period in the first instance, not to, I suppose, be committed forever in the first moment. So it's, again, communicating expectations.
I love that. And I never even thought of saying, well, because I would say, have you done this before? And they'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, but just asking them to walk you through the work that they're proud of. What did it look like before? And that's a great idea. I love that. Thank you. Because I think Karen, who's just come on, is also in that space of wanting to have like a team to support her.
Because there's also the tools that they're used to using can be different to the ones that you're using. And so there's a whole lot of, discovery in the first place before anything can really take effect.
So this is an interesting, the time thing comes back to me. So, with, say, taking or, bringing on team, there's that time, the learning time, the development time, the connection time, that process from the first month may not be super productive time while you're just getting to know each other. I say the same with Facebook ads, right? Because people say to me, I want to run some Facebook ads. And I'm like, right, well, the first month is like your learning time. Like, you have to be prepared to invest a little in the first month to be able to understand the learning. And then from there, we can look at the numbers and we can start to optimize what's going on. But your first month is really like, okay, that investment is the investment into your learning. Whereas, you know, I've had other people say, well, what will I expect in the first month? I'm like, well, first month is you expect to learn, right? Expect to learn, expect to find out what's working for you. And I know that Karen has mentioned this, and I know Kat has mentioned this, and actually Jason, who's in our group and who we've spoken to, is the same thing. And so with any team and with any culture, and whenever we're applying a new process, there's always that development time that needs to come into play. All right. So talk to me about what is it that, so with the people who are in our group and people who might want to connect with you, what is it that you are working on in the moment that might be able to help people?
Well, if it was somebody with a company with, you know, say 10 people, then I have a company solutions package where I would give a free workshop explaining, you know, what I'm about and what the profiling would be, and what the, you know, the styles are, etc. And then to perform the profiling, and then 2-hour coaching debriefs with each person. So I have that. But as an individual, if you're an individual who is wanting to pursue, you know, promotion, or looking at, you know, pursuing promotion or starting your leadership journey, then I would love to work with somebody in that field regarding how to go about getting started and learning what their leadership is to them, you know, finding their why, understanding their core values, creating that vision for their future. Yeah, so that's the individual, the company, and then for a company over 10 people, there's the Platinum Empowerment Package, which would be me coming in and helping them with their time and working with the people and doing some of the work that they just can't find the time to do anymore. But by the time I'm finished, walking away, knowing there's a structure within the organization, the leaders are empowered to run their section or their team. Within this group, the other skill that I have is the M-braining, and love it. It's all about aligning head, heart, and gut. And if anybody is looking to find their true self and find their inner purpose, then M-braining allows you to tap into the conversations that are happening within to bring out what it is you want, and think, feel, do, want to do, be, have, whatever. But M-braining is a phenomenal modality, very, very gentle for opening up the heart and giving the gut, listening to the gut instinct, and stopping that overthinking and that confusion, about what it is people are about. So yes, I've got some specials happening in February, and some company specials, some individuals, and looking to launch those.
How would people connect with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, through my website or my Facebook page, and my contact details are all there. And yes, a free discovery session as the first conversation, and happy to talk about what I can do to help them.
So if you can, because today is Friendly Friday, right? So if you can drop your links to your website so people can get in touch, that would be cool, into the page, and we can make sure that people know how to connect with you.
Yes.
And before we go, I would love to know, what is the question, or what is the thing that you feel drawn to share with this group before we finish today? Is there anything that needs to be shared or said?
Sorry, what's the question?
What is the thing that you feel that you want to share with the group for today? Is there anything else?
It's open up your heart. And I think that's what we are all in this group. Our connection is our hearts. And we can't take that for granted. Let's really continue to connect at that deeper level and encourage each other's heart.
I love it. It's so beautiful. Thank you. I love it. It is gorgeous. Karen says it is gorgeous, and it is. And we are blessed to have such an incredible community of people. And through that, we're all able to expand and grow. And I think this has a ripple effect. So thank you for being a part of this community and for sharing your heart and for keeping on showing up. I've always said that from the very beginning. You are resilient, you show up, you give it your very best every single time. You let nothing beat you, even when it's driving you bananas. And we are just blessed to have you in our field and to have your heart and your compassion and your empathy and your experience and knowledge in our group. So just thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for giving me this time today.
Oh my gosh.
I'm very, very grateful.
I'm the one who's grateful. This lights me up. Shine Your Light Friday. It's the best news ever. My favorite day. All the other days are good too, but this is my favorite because this is where the connection happens. So beautiful, Deb. Have the most wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here. Go be amazing. And I can't wait to see what's next for you.
And happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Love to you all.
Big love. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.